People see so many iOS and Android games, they often don't know where to start. Luckily, GameRanks is here to sort that out for you. Here's the best free iOS and Android games of October 2016. Number 10 is Gear Club, which, if you have been waiting for a great racing simulator, this is it. This is not an arcade racing game. A lot of racing games on the phone are. This is as close to a sim as you're going to get on a mobile platform. There's multiple control schemes too, so don't think you're stuck with just the always forward. And they go pretty deep into the simulation of the powertrains, suspensions, and engines. You get to build a performance shop to modify your car as well as engineer new specific parts, and I found this feature to be a lot of fun, not something I'd really seen in a mobile racing game. Also, it's gorgeous. Seriously, if you're looking for a sim and not an arcade racer, this is something you have to try. Number 9 is Really Bad Chess, which has a misleading title if I have ever heard one. Okay, so imagine chess where you have different pieces based on your skill level. It gives you a random board that essentially teaches you how to play chess by giving you good pieces and gradually pulling back when your rank goes up to much worse pieces. You essentially get to learn every piece and its advantages as you go. It really works out well for good players, and it provides a completely new challenge to seasoned chess players. I don't know why they named it Really Bad Chess, to be honest with you. It's great. Even as a sarcastic name, it makes no sense because it's really just like a fantastic chess game that completely revolutionizes chess, as far as I'm concerned. Number 8, Maximum Car is, if you could believe it, not an entirely serious racing game. In fact, where Gear Club is a sim, and it is a sim everywhere, Maximum Car is the exact opposite. It uses voxel graphics, lots of explosions, and really seems like the goal of the game isn't necessarily even to win, but rather to explode things and flip upside down and stuff. It does this great, though. It's extremely fun, and it has its own song. How could you complain about that? It's a stupid song. Like, it matches the game perfectly. It's not the kind of stupid that I dislike. It's the kind of stupid that I like. Number 7 is Pin Out, which takes the concept of pinball and turns it into a longer reaching experience where you don't just have a board, you actually have a level. It goes on, and really the game itself is kind of a sublime take on pinball. I don't know how to put it any different than that. It brings in a retro 80s aesthetic, puts a ton of great sort of driving synth pop, synthwave style stuff playing as the soundtrack. Like, this is gonna sound ridiculous and dumb, but what Stranger Things did for television, Pin Out is doing for pinball. Number 6, Spin Gun is a fantastic take on asteroids, if you ask me. It's a little bit more bullet hell-like in the modern sense, and it has an innovative control scheme that I think pretty much any ship-based stuff should probably maybe think about employing in future. Like similar titles, or even some titles that probably have controls that could at least be comparable. It's a 2-button control scheme. One button turns left, one button turns right, and you press both of them at the same time, and that shoots. Like, the game seriously controls incredibly tightly. But don't expect an easy experience. It's tough, but it's a lot of fun. Number 5 is Looty Dungeon, which, if you're familiar with Crossy Road, you basically know what you're getting look-wise and control-wise, except it's now a dungeon crawler as well. You get attacks and obstacles that really mirror the traditional dungeon crawler structure. It's not what I would call a roguelike on account it's kind of a little bit more traditional. It's not massively open-ended in any way, but it is endless, and it is a ton of fun. Like, if you ask me, it's actually pretty much what was missing from the Crossy Road gameplay is some sort of actual obstacle that isn't just getting across something. Different mechanics make it a lot more interesting for me, and I really like this version of this concept. And plus, it's endless, so you really just never run out of stuff to do. 50 heroes to collect, 8 bosses to defeat, and it's pretty much everything that it should be. Number 4, Zombie Anarchy Strategy War and Survival, which is a strategy game with some base building elements, as well as a lot of good PvP elements, like you can fight against other people from around the world and steal precious materials from them. Obviously, the more of that you have, the easier the game is going to be in your little world. And what's really nice is this is a game that somehow manages to be like a zombie game that's fairly serious without having like a dull color palette. It's actually a very pretty game. The art style kind of reminds me of Team Fortress a little bit if it were just a tiny bit less silly. And I do have some minor complaints about the bugs, like you will have from time to time a crash, which really sucks. But generally, this game is kind of worth it. I really enjoyed it. It's different from all of the other sort of random strategy light games. I mean, it's not like super in-depth or anything, but it's a little bit more without being totally like all-consuming obsession-based. It still retains that level of arcade fun, so to speak. Number 3 is Plants vs. Zombies Heroes, which is a card game that actually bears a bit of similarity to Gwent, but will be easier to adapt to if you're more familiar with the world of Plants vs. Zombies. Now, it is hero-based, so you get sort of more specific characters than you would in, say, Gwent. Gwent, there's really a massive, silly variety of different cards that you could potentially draw from. Whereas in this game, there's 20 different plant and zombie heroes. But there are certain people this simplicity will certainly be a blessing rather than a curse, because it allows you to get into the fun element of the game much faster. The learning curve is much less steep, so to speak. In my opinion, this is worth it basically essentially just for the multiplayer, but the single player stuff is still fun too. I just enjoy playing against other people. It's a really fun game for that, seriously. Number 2, Bullet Hell Monday is a very distinctly looking bullet hell game in the vertical shooter format that's very distinctly good about its coloring and styling, so you kind of always know what's going on the screen at the time. That being said, this is every bit the tough kind of game you might expect and throws in a bomb mechanic that is a little bit, I mean, it takes a little bit of getting used to. To put it the best way I can, it's not a detriment, it's actually interesting and fun, but it will throw you for a loop at least the first few tries. It has a stage-based chapter mode as well as goals, and I'm going to go ahead and say this, the monetization system, because as we are talking free-to-play games in this current video, this one is probably one of the least intrusive I have seen. It does actually serve a purpose, but doesn't harm the player, basically, which is kind of new and different as far as that goes, as well as, you know, having really fantastic gameplay. And finally, number 1 is Dan the Man, which kind of sells itself as Mario with punching and kicking, but I would say that's kind of selling itself short. If you ever played the old Gomon games on the Super Nintendo, specifically, there's one that was ported to the United States called Legend of the Mystical Ninja, but the other 2 games were called Gomon because they weren't brought over here. Dan the Man kind of feels like that for me. And to be completely truthful, that is something that has been sorely lacking, because it's kind of Zelda, kind of not, kind of arcade, kind of stage-based, kind of open, kind of a lot of everything in one game. And Dan the Man really came off, despite having a goofy name, as kind of a successor to that. It brought in stuff from those games that I haven't seen in a game in a long time, and I really enjoyed it. It also builds on the concept by bringing in more projectiles, as well as giving you several modes, from a story to endless survival mode to battle mode. Really just sort of brings this arcade style to a game that, I don't know, it really hit all the right notes for me. It's great stuff, but really I think this whole list is made up of great stuff. What was your favorite free iOS and Android game this month? If you played anything that wasn't on this list, still welcome in the comments. We're always interested, because really we like playing these games too. We'll give anything a shot. But what did you like out of the list too, if it's something that's not on the list? If you enjoyed this video, please click like, and if you're not subscribed, now is of course a very good time to do that. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this one. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanks.